Hello and welcome to today's video. This time we're going to be taking a look through Paperback Fanatic issue number 47, which has just been published. So sit back, relax, and let's take a look. Okay then, so here we are, issue 47. I gotta say, I absolutely loved issue 46, which was the first one in this new format, which is, just traditional large size magazine. And it once again features a cover designed by Bill Cunningham of Pulp 2.0. And the cover art is from Davis Meltzer. And it was for Clifford D. Simak's City from 1973. It's really, really funky, isn't it? What a cover that is. It's almost sort of psychedelic, isn't it? It's great. And I got my copy from Amazon, and I will of course put a link so you can get your copy in the description down below. And let's have a little look through them. So got your editorial introduction. So this is from Justin Marriott, who edits this and a few other magazines as well. And it starts off with a piece, Michael Stradford, Paperback Hero. Michael's done 4 books now on Steve Holland, the male model, and they're absolutely fantastic. They're really filled with great paperback jackets, and Steve Holland himself, of course, was a fantastic model. So I really recommend all 4 of those books. They're superb. This is the latest one here, Steve Holland, Paperback Hero. Really, really great, with some great covers. Bill then reviews the LA Paperback Fair from 2023. This is the latest one. I have had a little thought. I've recently come back from the British London Pulp and Paperback Fair for 2023 up in Bloomsbury, and I'll do a little report on that show myself. Took lots of photos. I had a fantastic time, so I'll do a little report on that show for the next issue. Now we've got the abominable Ian Taylor here. So it's Ian Taylor, co-editor of the 9th book of horror stories, chats to Justin Marriott about the series' origins and his future plans. An interview there. Next we've got a look at Deadly Dames and Sexy Sirens. This is from Bob Dice, and it's on The Art of Ron Lesser, Volume 1. Once again, I've reviewed this one on the channel myself. Absolutely fantastic book, beautifully designed and laid out, and once again full of classic book jackets, which I think you'll enjoy going through yourself. Next, some feedback on the last issue, which I think was very, very well received. I hope it's done very well sales-wise. Now we got a little look at a few different artists there. Then we've got a piece that I did for this magazine, just looking at recent eBay sales for vintage paperbacks, both American and some vintage British stuff. A few surprises in there. So I think one of the ones Justin raised a few eyebrows on was that copy there of The Crabs, Human Sacrifice. That was the US first edition from 1989. That one went for £160, which seems insane. But what do we know, eh? What do we know? So next, this is Justin's piece on historical fiction, which is got a massive area which I dip my toe into now and again. But I can't say I collect too many series, but this is a real in-depth look at it. Next is this bit comes under the sleazy reader. So we've got Candy Girls here, and then Gothic Romances, both by Justin Marriott. Downsides, and this is a really interesting panel, and by James Doig, and the first part of this was absolutely fantastic. So although I haven't read this yet, I am looking forward to it. I said this one only came in a couple of days ago, so I haven't had a chance to really go through it in any sort of detail yet. In actual fact, I'm saving it to take with me on holiday, so there you go. Roy Newgan on aspects of paperback reading and collecting, always a good thing. Robot Roy, so this will be good stuff. I can tell already. Now, this is by a look at the TV tie-ins and movie tie-ins to The Naked City, which is by author John Peel. And John has got a fantastic collection of tie-in novels and adaptations, and he's the right person. I once came across a copy of this, probably 20 years ago. They're very, very scarce, those console ones. They really are. Next, look at Horwitz paperbacks, which once again is a publisher from Australia. Don't know a lot about them, and I'm really enjoying learning about them. I've got none in my collection whatsoever, but in a lot of ways they remind me of what Pound were publishing. But this is a look at their recent sort of not recent, but this is a look at their 1960s nurse output, which was definitely a trend back then, wasn't it? Vault of Pulp Horror here from Tom, just some horror stuff from Pulps, and looking at Mystery Tales magazine, which is pretty cool. Next, to look at the Max Allan Collins Nolan books, a lot of which have now been reprinted by Hardcase Crime. A great series, those. Max Allan Collins is a great author. This is a look at the original printings of them. As I said, you can get them in Hardcase Crime now if you fancy trying those out. Now Steve Carroll on more classic horror in paperback. Always a good subject. Very, very hot at the moment. This looks great. I can't wait, because I've tried and enjoyed a lot of the original Robert Howard Conan stories, but apart from the comics, the Marvel comic in the 70s, I've not really read much by other authors, and I hear it's a bit hit or miss, so I'm hoping that this might be quite a nice little guide to it. I mean, there's certainly some good names here, people like Steve Perry, obviously Robert Jordan I know, so I'd like to know a bit about which ones are worth trying, so looking forward to reading that article. This is once again the Hot Leads. This is the Western Arm, and it's looking at Long Arm, a very, very long-running series. Not one I've ever tried myself, and I don't think I ever would, but they've certainly got their fans, and it's very, very long-running. So that's a look at Long Arm. Now we've got Steve Carroll looking at Kung Fu books from the 70s. This is part 2 of his look at those. Certainly that was a trend, wasn't it, in the early 70s? On the back of Bruce Lee mania, you could say. Little checklist down the side there for 70s and 80s Kung Fu books. The Hippest Guy in the Room, Tom Treslick. Looking at some of those classic books like Easy Rider, Barbarella, Dr. Strangelove, Candy. A lot of books by Terry Southern as well. He wrote a lot of those, some of them under pseudonyms. That's good stuff. Some great stuff here. I love that penguin. That's what I actually haven't got. Ringo's sitting on Peter Sellers' knees there for the Magic Christian. That was for the TV tie-in. I wonder, it must be quite scarce to get that one, I'm thinking. Got a couple of these here in my own collection. So that's going to be a really good article, I think. A Carousel of Craps. This is Justin Marriott's look at the publisher, Carousel. And yeah, they did produce quite a bit of rubbish, you have to say, but I guess a bit like Belmont, they've got their own charm, really, haven't they? And Justin looks at some of the highs and the lows of that particular series, and then there's a catalogue of crap, which is a checklist of the Carousel releases, so that'll be really handy for people, I'm sure. Paperback to the Future, Sean Osborne travels back to 1980 to look at fantasy and SF in paperback, so I bet this is really good. Looking at the 1 year in detail, there was some good stuff back then. Now this is a really, really interesting subject that Jim O'Brien's taken on, which is looking at the troubles in Ireland and Northern Ireland in paperback form. So that must have taken some research, Jim, so I look forward to reading this one. I see there's a puffin or two in there as well. That I'm not surprised to see, because they did tackle those sorts of subjects, but I grew up in the 1970s, and I always remember on the news you'd see the odd mention of a bomb going off in Ireland, or someone being assassinated or killed, and the IRA, it was on everyone's lips, wasn't it? And yeah, I think that'll be a really interesting article, that. I do indeed. Look at this, some really good stuff here. Thought-provoking, I think you could say. Thought-provoking. Now Justin here, Stoned Again, looking at the appearance of standing stones in horror and fantasy fiction in the 70s. Once again, I reckon this is going to be a really interesting article. A couple I recognise, Children of the Stones. That is very much like a gothic romance, isn't it? But not quite. A black magic novel of terror, it says. I bet this is going to be some good. And Power of the Serpent, I recognise that one. And then there's a visual checklist, which is always good. I love it when these are produced. Look at them all. Next we're going to look at Josephine Tey. Just had this one here, The Franchise Affair, has just been reprinted by Penguin in a classic sort of green and black crime livery, so might be worth checking that one out. But obviously we love the older editions, and yeah, Penguin and Pan, they were her main vintage publishers, so that'll be a good article, I'm certain. Don't mind a bit of Josephine Tey. Not difficult to track these down, you can get these, so it might be worth trying those. Then another look at Clifford D. Simak, author I've read a couple of, and I really like him. Yeah, Foursquare and Pan were his British publishers. Some good ones here. Lovely colour covers here in the gallery Really, really nice. Excellent stuff. It's all excellent stuff. And then finally, Spillane to the Membrane. Justin breaks his Spillane duck by sampling 4 of his books and reflects on what may have made Spillane so phenomenally popular and how his style was consumed and recycled by other authors of that era. I have a little handful of Spillane myself and I've yet to dip my toe in, so I too am quite looking forward to it. So once again, I shall read that with interest and see which ones are any good. So there we are, another action-packed issue full of some great stuff, and this really does deserve your support. If you want some great paperback fix to take with you, I think it's brilliant and well worth it. So there you go. So don't forget, I'll put a link to get this one off Amazon in the description down below should you wish to. Thank you very much for watching today. If you've enjoyed it, do please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you've not already for regular vintage paperback content, and I'll look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.